Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Zellin. Join me week after week as I interview high-level entrepreneurs on their journey to success, both in business and personal development. Each week presents new stories to learn from and new ideas on how to run a better business. Stay updated with all the guests we'll have by subscribing to this podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome to another episode of Better Business with Austin Zellin. Today we have our guest Edmund here. Super excited to talk about some of the business experience that he has. He's been able to build an incredible business with actually a whole franchise model, which I know we don't have a ton of franchise people on here, so I'm very excited to ask him some interesting questions on franchising and how that's worked out for him. So hopefully you guys can learn some valuable lessons to apply in your business and how you can run a better business. So Edmund, super excited to have you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business experience? Like, give people a background, like who is Edmund?
Okay. I guess you could say I'm a serial entrepreneur. My first business, I launched it when I was 17 years old. It was an e-commerce business. I used to sell merchandise on, sorry, I got to speak up. Okay. I used to sell merchandise on eBay. And after that, I went to college, wanted to be a pharmacist. Dropped out of pharmacy school because my father's business, our family business at the time, wasn't doing well. This was 2008 during the recession.
Okay.
So I got involved with the family business, really turned that around. And it was a towing business. Expanded that company from 5 trucks to 52 trucks, had a Napa Auto Care Center, Hertz Rent-A-Car, tire shop, got AAA contracts, CHP contracts, Metro Freeway Service Patrol, sheriff's contracts.
And so you were running this whole business by yourself?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
With the help of my dad.
Yeah.
So we're Armenian, but we're from Sweden.
Okay.
And then we moved here in 96. So when my dad moved here, he spoke very broken English. My dad was a phenomenal businessman, an entrepreneur. But when he moved here, his English was very, it wasn't Spanglish. It was like Swedish. It was half Swedish, half English. So he had a language barrier, but he was very sharp. As a businessman. So I got involved and, I got us all the contracts that he wasn't able to get. And then from there, my father passed away. So I'm like jumping all over the place, but basically that business, I spent about 7 years on that business. I lived at work. It was towing. It wasn't anything like prestigious or anything to be proud of, right? I lived in a mobile home in the back. I had a kitchen, bathroom, shower, bedroom, the essentials, right? I lived at the tow yard. I really turned that business around. We were doing at the time like 5 mil a year in revenue, which at the time was great. And then my father passed away, and I just wanted to get rid of that business. Everything about that business reminded me of him. So I sold that business, got into the oil field business in Oklahoma, bought a few oil fields, some flips. And then got into real estate, got into solar, got into medical transportation. And eventually during COVID, I just decided to get into the restaurant business while making a recipe at home. Back in Sweden, my dad was an Italian chef. He owned a few restaurants. So I grew up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So this was natural to me.
Okay. Awesome. So out of all those businesses, it sounds like you kind of jumped around from like industry to industry to industry. Was there one that really stuck out to you that you were like, wow, I really love being in this industry? Like maybe, the medical field or medical transportation or oil or whatever it was. Like, which one was your favorite?
I always knew I wanted to get into real estate.
Okay.
Development.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, future goal, I want to build like 500 unit apartment complexes, luxury apartment complexes, high rises, and this and that. We were slowly getting there, right? I was building 40 to 60 houses at a time, low income houses, 1,500 square foot cookie cutter houses. But then the COVID recession happened, and the house market tanked momentarily for a couple months, especially where I was building in Southwest Florida. And at that point, I just decided to do a shift to restaurants. I was listening to a podcast, How I Built This, kind of a similar podcast, right? Sorry, I'm getting over a flu. I gotta wipe my nose. There was a episode on Sweet Green, and they had 93 stores. They were worth $1 billion. I'm listening to this podcast. I was like, I've had 52 tow trucks. Adding a tow truck to your business is a lot harder than adding a restaurant, right? A restaurant, have a good concept, good food, good vibe, have that it factor, right? But I can open up a restaurant in another city. Now I got 40, 50,000 new customers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To add another tow truck, I need to perform really well with AAA, right? To gain territory. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's all like survey based with AAA at the
Yeah.
time. So you do really good, you take a territory away from another towing company. It's very
Mm.
competitive.
So you have to do better than the other towing company.
Correct.
Okay.
It's very hard to expand,
Yeah.
right? I can't just buy a tow truck and now I got the extra business.
Mm.
I need to gain the business. Whereas a restaurant, just open up in a new city, I gain the business. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? So because of that, I thought 93 restaurants will be a lot easier than 52 tow trucks. So during COVID, I'm at home with my mom and my sister, spending time with my family. Every night we're making a different recipe. Just keep busy, right? It's like everything is shut down. This is in like March, April, early on in COVID.
Mm-hmm.
One day we make my favorite dish at the time, still is today, a hot chicken sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, hats off to her, she makes the greatest recipe ever. Okay. I eat this thing. I was like, oh my God, I fell in love with it. I made her make me the sandwich for like 2, 3 weeks straight to the point where she got fed up with it. That's all I wanted to eat.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few months, 4th of July, my birthday. I have all my friends over at my house. Instead of barbecuing, I make hot chicken sandwiches. And then all my friends unanimously say, this is the best hot chicken we've ever had. So while I'm listening to this podcast, I was like, okay, the restaurant business is very interesting to me at this point,
Yeah.
right? I've always wanted to build a business that's either going to go public or be worth $1 billion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's my arrogance. Okay. I grew up very poor. Okay. In ninth grade, I had 2 pairs of jeans and 2 sweaters, one yellow, one red. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I'd wear my yellow sweater, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'd wear my red one, or, vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have money growing up, but I always knew in my mind, in my heart and my soul, that I'm going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, so this dream of having $1 billion business sounds ludicrous, right? I have no reason to believe this, but if I don't believe it, who will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that's why I've been able to switch from one profession to the other because I have this stupid confidence in myself that whatever I do is going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So friends told me best recipe. I'm like, okay, cool. I really want to get involved in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
Let me just move to Vegas because there aren't any hot chicken concepts in Vegas. It's near a city to LA. I'll
Mm-hmm.
move over there. I'll launch the business and then see how it goes. And this was July 2020. I made the decision. August 2020, I moved to Vegas. August 2021, we opened up our first restaurant. Within the first 6 months of being in business, we were ranked the #1 restaurant in Las Vegas.
Wow.
At the time we had franchised over 100 within like the first 6 months.
Wow.
Currently, we've been in business for 2 years. We have 12 stores open. By the end of 2024, we're going to have 50 stores open. We've sold over 300 franchises.
Mm-hmm.
End of 2025, we're on track to have about 125 restaurants across the nation.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
it's pretty cool. Seeing all this happening in real time.
Yeah.
It is yes. Sometimes I gotta like bite myself. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We just had a PE buy-in. Savory Fund bought in a minority share into the company. So that's something. Let me go back a bit. Day one, when I wanted to, when I decided to open up this business, I I said I'm going to start a franchise concept that's going to be big, right? I'm not doing like a one-off mom and pop.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this plan of where I want to be. Now I just reverse engineer it, right? And one of those steps, early on steps, is getting a PE buy-in that infuses a lot of cash, that has the knowledge, the know-how, because I'm new to the restaurant industry. There's a lot of things I know how to be creative, how to
Yeah.
start a business, but to take this 12 unit concept and make it an international business is a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah.
So part of it is getting this PE, and I just spoke it into existence. October 31st, we signed the deal after being
Wow.
in business for 2 years.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here, and there's
Yeah,
a
a
few
ton.
things that I wanna talk about, but, let's start with the confidence part of it. You touched on that a couple times. It's like confidence that I know I'm going to succeed. So you are able to jump from industry to industry to industry, and it's not maybe that you're necessarily the most skilled in each one of these industries, but that you have the confidence that you're going to make it work somehow, and then
Yeah.
you learn those skills and you become the most skilled person in that industry. So, what role do you think confidence plays versus actual experience and skill set in that industry?
Okay. So I was 23, right? Uh, helping my dad out with his business.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 5 trucks at the time. Again, business is failing. Line of credits maxed out. Cost of fuel was like sky high. Uh, Customers are down because everyone's retaining money. No one's like trying to tow their car anymore. They're like towing their car with if you're my friend, I'd call you. Like I'll tie a rope to your car and you'll tow my car. You'll pull it home,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? If it breaks down. Uh, that was the environment, right?
yeah.
Okay, so what do I do? What's a successful towing company? AAA contract, right? CHP contract, sheriff contract, Metro Freeway Service Patrol contract. Metro Freeway Service Patrol, that's a government contract, right? I was 23 years old. I knew nothing about this industry, very little, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saturdays I'd spend with my dad, being a tow truck, I'd learn that stuff, right? But the Metro Freeway Service Patrol contract at the time, 2009, it was a $2.8 million contract. It's a lot of money back then, right? Uh, 500-page application. Towing companies that have been in business for like 20, 30, 40 years, right? These guys were, 40, 50, 60 years old. They would have their attorneys, their accountants fill out this application. I took on this application on my own. I filled it out myself, right? I had no business doing this, but I just like I can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might take me a little longer because it's my first time doing it, but
Mm-hmm.
I can get it done. I couldn't afford to hire an attorney or accountant at the time. We didn't have any money, so I had to do it myself. I remember going into this office. So you put a bid in, you fill out the application, you get vetted, they approve you. You put a bid of how much you're going to charge an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in this room there, and there's like 20 contracts up for bid. I'm the youngest one there, 23 years old, fresh, like don't even have a beard at the time, probably. I remember looking around in the room, and everyone's looking at me like, "What the hell's this kid doing in here?" Like, seriously, like, what was I doing there? I had no business being there.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I got the contract, and everyone's looking around like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" Like,
Mhm.
he just got this contract from us, and they had been in business with Metro Freeway Service Patrol for many times, many terms.
Yeah.
Fresh kid, I just got it. Go to AAA. I have no experience with AAA, but the confidence that I projected to the AAA managers was like, "There's something in this kid, right? He hasn't proven himself, right? But we're gonna take a shot at this guy because the way he speaks, right? The confidence that he has, he's worth a shot, right? And if this guy does well, he might change the entire industry." And I was the guy that changed the industry in the towing business.
Mm.
All of my trucks, brand new, right? They look like Christmas trees. Got lights all on them, like underglow lights, and like made the trucks look super cool and unique. All my drivers made sure they're very professional. I took the stigma of a tow truck driver away, right? The guy that smokes cigarettes, all oily, greasy,
Mhm.
sharpened them up, right? I kind of changed the industry. I was like the first person to do that. And then everyone else started copying that. So I set the standard. And because I set the standard and I was so different and I really gave good customer service to
Yeah.
all the AAA members, AAA just kept expanding my area and expanding my area and expanding my area.
Mhm.
Finally, to the point where we had 5 different locations, 52 trucks. And then AAA approached me and said, "Hey, we want you to move into Texas." Right? AAA was expanding into Texas. Their provider wasn't doing well over there. They said, "Listen, we'll give you Texas." Uh, I said, "The only way I'm going to go into Texas is if you give me the rate I want and I choose a territory. They said, no problem. They flew me out. I go to Dallas. I go to Houston. I decided I'm going to go into the Woodlands in Houston. Got this crazy deal, right? Like unheard of. They were just literally throwing money for me to go there because I was going to expand the experience over there. And because members were getting good experience and good service, they were going to renew their memberships
Yeah.
and tell their friends about the membership.
Yeah.
So AAA was going to essentially expand. I was a part of it, helping them
Yeah.
out. At this time, my dad had just passed away. This was 2015. He passed away in 2014.
Mm.
I had this multi-million-dollar contract. I had ordered all the trucks. I had bought a house over there, got this lot, a tow yard, and then literally a week before, I called my manager. I said, Jeff, I got bad news. I can't do this. Right?
Mm.
I don't know what it was. I just didn't want to be in the business anymore. That is my stupid arrogance. Okay, I'm 28, have this multi-million-dollar contract, have this lucrative business, but I just decided I don't want to be in the towing industry anymore because everything about this business is reminding me of my father and it's mentally draining me, right? I
Yeah.
want better for myself.
Mhm.
If I didn't have that confidence that I can literally just drop this business, sell it, move on to something else, I would still be in the towing business. Probably miserable, not happy,
Yeah.
right? Overworking myself, but yeah, it's just you got to have it in you, right? If you don't have it in you, who will, right? Um, it's like the best example is, what's the value of $1? It's a piece of paper. It's $1. Why? Because someone said it's worth that, right?
Yeah.
What's a hundred
Agreed
dollar
upon
bill
value.
worth? Same size, same weight, but that one's worth $100. Why? Because someone said so.
Yeah.
So, what is your value,
Mhm.
right? If you don't believe it yourself, who will, right?
Yeah.
You have to set your own value, and because I've been able to do so, I think that's what's given me this stupid confidence where I could just go into any field that I want and do really well in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's such an interesting story. And I think there's a lot to be said about having self confidence in yourself and presenting yourself in a professional way that opens up these opportunities for us.
Correct.
It allows us to expand our business, to grow our business, and even deliver better to our clients. It's very, very important. So, do you think that that was like the only reason that they chose you over all these other towing companies? Like when you were applying for those contracts with AAA, with all those other organizations, do you think they, preferred you because of your confidence, or was it like the service or the company, or what exactly do you think it was?
It was because I have good hair. No, I'm kidding.
Of
Look,
course.
at first, uh, what service have I provided? I hadn't, right? I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
But for them to give me a shot,
Mhm.
n- there were 100 other people applying for the same contract, right? But for them to give me a shot with AAA, it was me, right? Now I got the shot. They started me off very small, right? Tiny little area. I was actually a backup towing provider for the other guys, but
Mhm.
I busted ass for a year, gave really good service, and then they started giving me the areas
Mm.
because AAA managers, they're also graded, right? They have there's like 6 different managers, but each one has 20 different towing companies underneath them, right? That manager's bonus is based on how those towing companies perform. So
Mm.
the one that performs better, obviously, he's going to expand that guy because it improves his
Yeah.
overall score as well and his bonus.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to get the shot, right?
Mhm.
Once you get the shot, you got to put on that hat and you got to do a good job. And if you don't, there's a door.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because what you're talking about is getting a shot at an opportunity that might seem bigger than what you imagine, or it might seem bigger than something that you've done already. You haven't even proven yourself to be given a shot at that opportunity. But sometimes in life, we're just given that opportunity. And that goes for, I think there's two very important points there. Number one is preparation. You were prepared to take on that opportunity. You were already learning how to provide that customer service for people to be outstanding in your field. And then secondly, um, the thing is, sometimes we just get that shot one time. You
Yeah.
get that contract one time, and if you blow it, you may have never had a chance with AAA again because you blew it that one time. So preparation is so important, and then also being able to take advantage of that opportunity and being like the best you can possibly be and not biting off more than you can chew, but providing the best possible service that you can, in order to continue that relationship and keep growing that. So, very, very important. So, as an entrepreneur, you've had all these different experiences. You live obviously an entrepreneur lifestyle. So you're not tied to a 9 to 5 or anything like that. What would you say is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur? Is it the time freedom, financial freedom? What is it exactly?
Excellent question. All of the above, right? I like to travel. I love to travel. Every summer, I'm gone in Europe for a month, 2 months,
Yeah.
right? If I had
What's your
a,
favorite spot in Europe?
oh, honestly, Italy.
Italy?
Yeah,
Nice.
just it has like a bit of everything, right? It has a city,
Yeah.
it has a culture, it has the buildings that are 2,000 years old, and then it's got the Mediterranean,
Yeah.
right? It's got it all.
Absolutely.
I'm from Sweden, like I said, so
Yeah.
from Europe. Um, Grew up there until I was 10 years old. So yeah, I just love everything about Europe. But if I didn't have the money or the freedom, I wouldn't be able to do this, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's what this what this lifestyle brings. What's also exciting is creating, right? Building a legacy for yourself. It's not
Mhm.
just the money, all right? The money is actually secondary. Uh, Making my mom proud, making my sister proud,
Mhm.
building a team, right? Having a team and like taking people up with me.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I like the most.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. There's a lot of importance in people development, developing the team members that you have and helping them be the best version of themselves. And that's like one of the best things that you can do as an entrepreneur, I find, is number one, hiring that team and finding the right people to work alongside you, but also developing them. So, on the subject of hiring people, how have you like traditionally hired people? Is it just people that know you and your brand and they're like, "Man, I want to work with Edmund no matter what, like I'll work for free" type of stuff? Or are you like putting out ads or is it just referrals? Cuz I've used various different sources and I want to hear how you've built your companies.
Yeah. So it's a mixture, right? So
Mhm.
when I got involved in this industry, uh, restaurant business, I knew nothing about it, right?
Yeah.
I can put up an ad, but who am I, right? So I started interviewing food providers, Cisco, U.S. Foods, Nicholas, and then they all liked me, but one of them really stood out, and she liked my vision, right? She's like, something about this guy, right? Everyone comes into this industry and says, I'm going to open up 10 restaurants. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, right? But there was something about this lady. She saw something in me. She's like, maybe this guy, as crazy as he sounds, right? Maybe he's onto something.
Yeah.
So she recommended someone else that was in this industry who became my operator, right?
Okay.
Uh, Without him, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this, right? I mean, I would have gotten someone else to do it, right?
Yeah.
But without this person's expertise, would not have been able to do it.
Mm.
Uh, so how do I attract this person? It's just you got to have that human connection, right? Bring him on, interview
Relationship.
him. Exactly. He's got another job. He's got to be willing to take a gamble on you, right? He's working for another restaurant business that has 10, 20 restaurants already. It's an established chain.
Yeah.
To pull this guy away and have this guy come work for you takes a lot, right? Um, you just got to be a uh, people person, right?
Yeah.
Have good intentions. People see that.
Mhm.
Um, that's how I've been able to attract them. But yeah, who do I want to work for me? It needs to be someone that's just like me, right? Has the same vision, same beliefs, uh, just sees life the same, right? If they don't, it's never gonna work, right? So my office, my corporate office, I need to have 20 sharks just like me, right? Same mindset. We can together as a team, we can go conquer the world, right? But if there's division within my corporate office,
Mhm.
it's never gonna work,
Mhm.
right? I tell them to do something, they think of it, they think I'm crazy or they don't respect me, they're not going to want to work with me or work for me. So when you hire someone, hire your twin as close to it as possible.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of value in hiring somebody that has the same like values and aspirations, and most importantly, that they can connect to your vision because you're the one setting the vision for the company, setting the vision for how this is going to um, continue and grow and expand and all those things. And it's very important to have also, I think, people who have maybe a different perspective. So I have hired people who are very similar to me, but I've also hired people who are different than me
Absolutely.
because they can see things that I don't see. Because I don't personally, I don't see everything in business. You know, like I see, what I'm gifted to see. But there's things that number one, I hate doing. Number two, I'm just not good at doing. And number three, I just don't even see that that thing needs to be done. So there's definitely value in hiring those people as well. But as far as like a strategic team, you definitely need people who can connect to your vision and can see what you're doing. So, also another important aspect of growing a business, I believe, is learning and constantly growing. So, what do you do in your life when it comes to like learning new things and gaining new perspectives? Is it like mentors or books or podcasts or what is it exactly?
I watch Better Business with Austin.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Uh, Read all the time. Be out in the world, right? There's
Yeah.
so much going on in the world, just constantly.
Hmm.
If you're home, couch potato, you're not going to learn, right? Uh, what I like to do, especially now that I live in Vegas, I'll go from restaurant to restaurant, see what I like about each restaurant, what each restaurant's doing. I don't always go to my own, right?
Hmm.
What if factor does this restaurant have that I resonate with as a customer?
Yeah.
Um, so when I started my restaurant chain, that was it. I kind of took all my favorite things about other restaurants and
Hmm.
I put it into one. Does
Interesting.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, Number one thing for me was I want it's fried chicken. Okay, it's
I
a
love fried
fast
chicken.
yeah who doesn't? It's a fast casual concept, right?
Yeah.
It's it's not fast food, but close to it, right? But I want to make sure that I give the best quality food, right?
Mhm.
I've had a few businesses before this. So when I started this business, it wasn't so much about making money. I already had the money, right? But like I really wanted to give a customer a good experience at my restaurant. So profits was secondary, experience was first, right? And because of
Yeah.
that, my restaurant has that it factor. When you
Mhm.
come, you try my food, you taste the difference, right?
Mhm.
My fryers, I spent $120,000 on my fryers. I could spend $10,000 on my fryers, but when you come, you taste the difference because of the
Mm.
fryers, right? The quality of my chicken, you taste the difference. The quality of my bread, the pickles, like everything is specifically chosen
Mhm.
to give you that taste, and you can taste the difference, and that's why customers come to my restaurant all the time because it genuinely is like the best hot chicken in the world.
And so for our viewers, what is your hot chicken restaurant called?
It's called HHC. It's Houston, Texas hot chicken.
Houston Hot Chicken. I'm gonna
Yeah,
check it out later today. I didn't realize that there was a location in Vegas. For some reason, I thought it was in Arizona, but
we have them
I'm
in Arizona,
okay.
Vegas,
In Scottsdale,
Idaho.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
opening up 10 more in Scottsdale,
Wow,
Idaho, Washington, Utah, California, Texas, Michigan, Ohio's gonna open up. I mean, just all over the place.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out today. And I will see, what it's all about. But it sounds really great. And so, kind of on that topic of the restaurant business, um, what would you say was the thing that really created this accelerated growth? Because I mean, there's many restaurants that open up and they fail
Yeah.
and they never franchise and none of that ever happened. So what do you feel like you did in your restaurant that was so different? Was it the attention to detail? Was it the that your focus was the ultimate customer experience? Or maybe was it that it factor that you talk about? Like what was so special about your restaurant that you're expanding to 300 locations now?
Yeah. So everyone says you're crazy for getting in the restaurant industry, right? Like even my
Yeah.
dad, uh, my mom in Sweden, I would never see my dad, right? Growing up, the only time I got to see my dad was in the kitchen. He'd wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, go buy fresh produce for the day,
Mm,
go to his restaurant, prepare the food for the day, and then he'd come home at like 11 o'clock at night, right? Like finish the day, come home
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock at night. So my dad really was home for like 6 hours out of the day, right? And I was sleeping at the time. The only time I
Yeah.
got to see my dad is like if he comes, gives me a kiss, and wakes me up, right, in the middle
Yeah.
of the night. The rest of the time, I would see him at work in the kitchen, which was often. It was like 4 or 5 times a week. My mom would take us there all the time after school. But growing up, that was like that's what a restaurant was to me. Very hard. Uh, it's just a form of getting by, right? It's an income.
Mhm.
So most people that open up restaurants, they open up a restaurant. They're like, let me make $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month profit from this place, right?
Mhm.
It's uh, it's like a livelihood. It's just a job, right? So mom and pops, when they open up a restaurant, they're putting most of the time all the money they have into the restaurant, right? Building a restaurant costs anywhere between half a million to 1.5, right? You can go like super cheap, open one up for like 250K, right? Mom and pop places mostly that's what they're doing, right? They buy, they don't focus so much on the furniture, the vibe, it's just bare minimums, bare bones,
Mhm.
just to make a dollar, right? But with that comes, because your intention from day one is to make money, you start penny pinching. The quality of your ingredients, not the best. You save a little money here, you save a little money there.
Mhm.
All of that, a customer, it resonates with the customer. Like a customer understands when they come into the restaurant, it's 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It doesn't hit like the vibe, the atmosphere, the culture, the employees, right? Like, are you understaffed? Do you have a lot of people? Like, are you table touching? Uh, the quality of the food, the bathrooms. You go to my bathrooms, bro. Like, my bathrooms are beautiful. Like, I spend a lot of money on my bathrooms.
Yeah.
Uh, but it- I hit it all because when I started it, it wasn't to make money. It was
Yeah.
to build something great,
Mm.
right? Reverse engineered, right? This is where I want to be, right? So when I opened up the first restaurant, it was kind of with a blank check, right? I don't care about profits, right? I want to build a national brand. How are you going to do that? It's going to take a lot of money, right? Uh, the reason why we're successful is because I want to build something great, not something profitable. The profits and the money will come later on,
Mhm.
right? Once I have something big, it'll
Yeah.
be there. But for now, I have my other businesses. I make my own money elsewhere.
Yeah.
This isn't my focus. I don't need to make my money here.
Yeah.
Because of that, I can focus on building a really good brand.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's very important because I do agree with you. A lot of people, they get into this entrepreneurial journey because they want to make money. And
Correct.
really you should be focusing on that end product and delivering the ultimate customer experience even if you're not making money right away. And eventually, it does become profitable as it grows. So it's more like profitability at scale. But when you're first starting out, if you want to have something successful, you have to make sure that you're providing the best possible experience that you can. And so would you say, like, I don't know if you're willing to share this, but at the beginning, like when you first started your first HHC, was it profitable or was it only profitable later on?
So each individual restaurant is profitable,
Okay.
right? On average, each
From day
one.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, we have a line out the door all the time. Like each restaurant
Yeah.
profits about 50,000 a month.
Okay.
Okay. So individually, very profitable, right? But when you're building 30 restaurants at a time, it's a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? So it's like whatever money they generate, I'm taking it, I'm reinvesting in the business because I want to build something big. Now, if
Yeah.
all I
Yeah.
want is 10 restaurants, sure, I can just build out 10 restaurants. I already have it built. I don't need to invest in my infrastructure anymore. It could just be a cash cow and I can make my half a million dollars, a month and be happy with it. But that's not the goal,
Yeah.
right? So I want to be an international business, and in order to do so, I've got to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
So right now, overall business, is it profitable? No, right? Are the restaurants profitable? Yes.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, of course, but that's just reinvestment. That's
Correct.
how it works. So, cool. So as far as each location though, how are you consistently delivering the same level of service? Like, how do you find your operators? You found that first one through a relationship, But then after that, how are you able to find solid operators? Because one of the things that we do is we buy companies. Like with my students, we buy companies. But one of the challenges of that is trying to find an operator that, number one, you trust to run the business, and number two, they can effectively run the business. So how do you find operators that can effectively run the business to your standards and keep that name so good?
Okay. Uh, I attract. Okay. My restaurants attract. My restaurants speak for themselves, right?
Mhm.
So m- the first one is ran perfectly, right? After that, you might be an operator, right? You might just come in as a customer one day,
Mhm.
but you fall in love with this, right? You might be working for another restaurant, right? But you come here, you're like, wow, man, it's like something about HAC. I want to work here,
Yeah.
right? I would rather work. You put in an application, right? Like
Gotcha.
you attract
The success is attracting.
absolutely,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's like a very different concept than many people are used to. It's like you do it right one time, you set that standard, you put things into motion, and then that success it carries momentum, and it's bringing more success your way. But the importance is taking that first step. So, cool. Well, one last thing that I wanted to talk about is, our viewers they're wanting to run a better business. If there are some things that you would say they should focus on to improve their business maybe in going into 2024, 2025, what are some areas that are very important to you to
Yeah.
provide the ultimate customer experience?
Okay. Uh, what made my business attractive in the beginning, besides the food, the customer service, and all that, was social media, right?
Hmm.
I had a big social media push, right?
Yeah.
Huge.
So what do you mean by that? Like you were posting it or you had
I
other people post
I
it?
was posting, I had influencers coming in and posting, right? People were seeing my food, right? They need to see your food, right?
Yeah.
It's like food porn, right?
Yeah.
They see it, they're like, "Oh man, that looks good. Let me go try it," right?
Yeah.
So people come into the door for the first time because of that, right? There's that like question mark. What is this? It looks good. I want to try it, right?
Yeah.
What is this about? The reason they come in the door the second time is very different, right? They come in
Mhm.
the door the second time because, well, they've already that question mark is gone, but now they come in because they like the food,
Yeah.
right? So to retain a customer is difficult if you don't execute well, right? You can
Yeah.
get them in the door the first time. So in the beginning, it was all about posting the food, making people fall in love with the food. But now it's like they've got to fall in love with the brand and the lifestyle and the culture, right?
Mhm.
So if you think of like Red Bull, for example, right? If you go on Red Bull's Instagram, or Facebook or MySpace, whatever it was back in the days.
Yeah.
I'm sure they posted a lot about their drinks, right? Drink Red Bull because of X, Y, and Z. It'll give you energy. It's got this ingredient in it that's good for this, and like they would talk about the product,
Mhm.
right? In the beginning, you got to talk about the product. You got to
Yeah.
product awareness.
Mhm.
But you go on Red Bull's Instagram page right now. What do you see?
It's like crazy stunts.
Yes, you see airplanes and helicopters and skydivers, doing acrobatics.
Yeah.
You don't see their product anymore, right? Because
Yeah.
people know what Red Bull is, right? Uh, it's like a form of entertainment now, right? It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So,
And people wanna associate with that.
correct.
Yeah.
So, this new chapter of my company, we have to do a transition, right? It can't just be the food because how many times do you want to look at the same, like a solid chicken sandwich, tenders, salads, fusion fries, loaded fries. Like,
Yeah.
how many times can I post the same video over and over, different angles, right? It gets repetitive.
Yeah.
People lose interest. So to stay relevant, now there's got to be a shift, right? They got to fall in love with the brand. They've got to see the brand logo
Yeah.
all the time, right? So Red Bull, for example, all you see on their videos is their logo, their logo, their logo. Not because if you're on your couch and you're watching TV or you're scrolling through Instagram, you're going to go downstairs and buy a Red Bull. No, they just like implement that logo in your head. So next time you're at the convenience store and you look at the fridge, that's the one that sticks out, right? Because you've seen that logo so many times.
Mhm.
So kind of same thing with my restaurant now. Now they need to know the logo, so when they drive by the restaurant, okay, this is the place. Let me just pull in over here, right? Or if
Yeah.
they're in a shopping center and there's 20 different restaurants, this is the one that sticks out.
Yeah.
Uh, I personally think like influencers are dying out. That form of marketing, I think, has come and gone, or is going to be gone in the next couple years. So
Mhm.
marketing is important, but you got to be very strategic with the way you market
Yeah.
and creative. So I'm working on a few different things right now. I got my marketing guy with me right now.
Yeah.
He's over here,
Yeah. Awesome.
Mario. But yeah, we're going to be working on a few different things. So going back to your question, you know, what's important in building a big brand? Definitely marketing, but you be a pioneer, lead the way, right? Be the first to do it if you could. Uh, I think that helps out a lot.
Alrighty, guys, you heard it yourself from Mr. Edmund. Build a brand, be the first if you can do it, be a pioneer in your industry, and most importantly, deliver the ultimate client experience because that's what builds the brand at the end of the day and keeps people coming back over and over and over again. So, thank you guys for joining us today on Better Business, and we will see you all in the next episode.